Hi everybody, I am Lady Stars and Fire. My real name is Michelle Espinosa and this is the weekly healing messages for January 29th through February 5th, which would be Sunday, or February 6th, which would be Monday. I can't believe January's already blown by. This year's it's going to be an amazing year. And what I have to say about this week, I call it the healing messages if you've never watched the video before, because that's what I ask for. I ask for Spirit to give us guidance and counsel that will help us move forward in the most positive, healing ways within our lives. Now, the reason I was saying that about 2017 in general, it's also going to be a very healing year. And I don't know how else to say it other than I've been getting a lot of messages about this year, basically starting at Halloween of last year, and it just keeps maturing. And what I'm seeing is the messages that I'm going to give you today for this week have a lot to do with the year in general as well. But it's not just the year in general, because I'm being told it's kind of like this year is like a harvest year in general for helping us move forward and make those positive changes. And I'll explain that a little bit better because, like I said, this week's healing messages kind of explain a lot about the year in general when you look at it in a long view. But it's also directly for this week. Now, first and foremost, above anything, when I was doing the runes, I'm being told it. When I was in the shower, I'm being told it. I've been getting it, like I said, it's been that same information coming in, but they were making sure that I realized it was this week on top of it. Truth and honesty, truth and honesty, truth and honesty. And in case you're not getting what I mean when I say truth and honesty, I mean forthcoming. Being forthcoming with yourself as well as with others, because being forthcoming is a way of healing, and a lot of people misunderstand that and they overlook that. In order to be forthcoming with yourself, you have to be honest and truthful with yourself, so therefore you are healing yourself and your life and your situation, creating health as well. Now, I was told basically to share a piece of what was coming through my mind that was making them, is how they were explaining it to me so that I could get it thick in my head. And this is a very personal part of my life, but I don't know any other way of sharing it with you to get exactly how much I care about you and how much I want you to have the best, most positive, healing, prosperous, loving life that you can. I don't care if I don't know you. I want us all to do the best we can. I want us all to have a loving life. And that has to do with being in service. But what I was being reminded to understand this forthcomingness of what I'm being told is just to give you a piece of my life that was very important to me. And by sharing that, it will help you to understand that that's how much I care about you too. See, when I was, an early 20-year-old, right out of my teens, when I was in high school, I'd fallen in love at that time with who was the love of my life, obviously. I mean, we tend to fall in love when we're in high school. We think that's the one. And this situation also happens to deal with, for me, in a personal past life or lives. And for me personally, I had to have the angel of death come in and keep telling me over and over and over again, girl, you are refusing to learn this lesson. And that had to do with forthcomingness. See, because we'd split up, no big deal. That's what happens a lot of times when you're teens, if you don't manage to marry the one that is your high school sweetheart. And separated, went on about our lives. But the thing is he'd come back and wanted to work it out at that time. But at that time, I didn't know that. And the reason I'm explaining this to you is because of the dumb actions that I did. It wouldn't have necessarily changed it, but it would have changed the fact that that's when I started lying to myself. That's when I started going against my own personal healing because I was afraid of being hurt. He come back and he wanted to talk and try to work things out. And I thought that he had a perfect little life and I wanted to be happy for him. But I wasn't exactly happy. I had been in a relationship myself. It didn't work out. We were engaged and I owned a wedding dress. And when he come back, myself went out and showed him that wedding dress so that I could pretend that I was happy. Because I didn't want him to feel sorry for me and I didn't want him to know that I wasn't happy. But truthfully, I was lying to me, not him. See, the rest of that story doesn't matter. But you know how long it took for me to finally go all the way back into my life to realize that's when I started lying to myself. Forthcomingness is healing. And when you are not being forthcoming and truth and honesty with yourself, you're lying to yourself, baby. And at some point, it's going to bite you. And this is why I explained that, because I don't want you to have to put yourself through that kind of pain. Anyway, as I move into this week, again, January 29th through February 5th or 6th, if you want to carry it out to Monday. And like I said, a lot of this information will give you a better idea at the whole year. I am being given elephant. The healing elephant. In my shamanic journey, I am first seeing the elephant staring me down. That has to do with the forthcomingness. That has to do with what the animal's medicine is. The elephant's animal medicine is all about intelligence, is all about strength, is all about confidence, courage, patience, commitment, as well as compassion and gentleness. Looking you in the eye, being forthcoming with yourself is what the elephant was bringing. But then again, he also stops, he turns around, and he's completely walking away. This is where it gets to where it's honesty with yourself. Are you walking away from what you need to be walking away from? Or are you walking away from yourself? This has to do with the elephant's medicine, not just the young people in our lives or the elderly people in our lives. It has to do with our lives and ourselves as well. That's what elephant is teaching us. This week, it has to do with, like I said, also this whole year. I've been being given, like I said, a good way of understanding, especially this week as you're evaluating things, is, are you coming from a prehistory thinking and acting? Or are you in a primitive thinking and acting? Are you rebirthing? Or are you prehistorically still keeping yourself in the Stone Age, out there with the dinosaurs, out there with the Stone Age? Are you not changing? Are you not getting into that primitive change to move forward? This is what this year is going to be bringing a lot of that energy in. But this week specifically is what I'm being told. And I'm also being told that Groundhog Day, because Groundhog Day is on the 2nd, which is February 2nd this week. And I'm being told that energy of, did you see your shadow or not? Are you staying in the cold or not? Has a lot to do with this week. I'm also being given, and I don't know how else to put it, like I said, I've been being given so much divine energy, and I am so thankful. But it's coming from many different religions, many different cultures. And I posted a little bit of information on for those different areas. But one of the things I can say in one of my shamanic journeys, because one of my teachers, I have many Hindu teachers, I have many Egyptian teachers, and then I also have Jesus as one of my teachers when I go to the upper world and my shamanic journeys. And he has been very much stating, feed the flock. If you don't feed the flock will go get food elsewhere. And the food that is elsewhere will not be the right food. It's all about love. It's all about truly unconditional love. Now, unconditional love has to do with forgiveness. It doesn't mean that you can let them keep abusing you. but it does mean that you have to feed your flock. Now let's look at this, because what he's trying to explain is your flock is everything that's in your life. Everything. Everything that's in your life. Everything that you love, that you care about, that is part of your life. Are you feeding it positively, soulfully, with love? Are you taking advantage of it and taking the idea of just assuming it's going to be all right and it's going to be there, but you're not necessarily filling it soulfully with the love that it deserves? If you are not feeding your flock, how do you expect your life to be positive? Because it's all about what you feed it. It also brings me back to the fact that I've said this whole year is going to have to do with Virgo, as well as the node. The South Node is in Virgo. This speaks to us all of service. This speaks to us, service is not just being helpful and nice. Service is being soulful, my love. It's all about soulfully living and loving. So that also speaks to us of when we're asking for guidance from whoever it is that we think of as our God, our creator, the universe, our goddesses, whatever it is that you believe in. It's not my job to tell you what to believe in. Is you need to come to that wholeheartedly. You need to come to that prayer. You need to come to that love soulfully. And the only way I can explain that the best I can is as I was going through the astrology today, I happened to look up, and on my TV happened to be one of the seminars from sermons, not seminar, a sermon, because it's Sunday and church happened to be on TV. I just hadn't changed the channel from what I was watching, and Sunday morning TV came on, which is not a problem. It's fine if you watch TV with, church and TV, that's fine. But my thing is I looked up because I was drawn to look up, and they were saying a prayer. The priest was saying the prayer, and it's a prayer that, I guess in Catholic religion is said over and over and over again. And it's a long prayer, and because it's not one that I necessarily had heard of before, because I have had my share of churches. Anyway, it's not one that I had heard of before. But I'm noticing they're videoing the chorus, all of the people, their flock, basically. And they're all saying the prayer kind of like this, like we're just repeating the words we've heard all of our life. They're not soulfully believing anything that they're saying. This is what I'm talking about. If you're going to come to ask for help, if you're going to come to your higher power, to your higher soul, to those gods, your creator, the universe, you got to come soulfully, baby. You got to come soulfully with love, even in your prayers. If it's just, I'm repeating what I've been told because that's what I've been told, then you're not getting it. I'm sorry. You're not. Anyway, I'm also brought to the Hindu again. And it's Lord Hanuman is the monkey god, basically. Hanuman. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. I apologize. I get their names wrong all the time when they're from another culture, and I do apologize. But he came literally in disguise to me. And then he handed me the hand again. But he also was handing me 4 fingers. Not 3. Not 5. 4. And again, just like last week, the hand has to do with power. But it also, for him, has to do with that third eye. And it also is 4 fingers, which again speaks to us of divine law. Divine law. That's what a lot of this is. That's what I said, that whole idea of the prehistoric. Are we prehistorically acting in our lives, or are we learning and we're moving in the primitive new way to what is becoming? Because that's really what a lot of this year is, and a few more years in the future is what I'm being told. It's that primitive new beginning, the new world starting. That enlightening world is what's coming up. And we have to be honest with ourselves, forthcoming with ourselves about if we're moving in the primitive way, the beginning and moving forward, or are we sticking to prehistory the Ice Age, the Stone Age? Are we stuck in our way of thinking and we're not learning? I'm also being told that Lord Hanuman, if I got it right, he speaks to us of the symbol of selflessness and loyalty and of bravery. But for those who are trying to evolve up and move forward, he also is a good help. This is why he came in disguise. Because he's saying, while we go through those trials of karma from our past or past lives, those trials of karma, he is there to help us through those journeys, to make it a little bit lighter. That's the same idea of what Jesus is saying about feeding the flock. Now, I'm going to move into astrology, because like I said, there was so much to say. Astrology. During this week, Venus moves into Aries on Friday, February 3rd. Aries is impulsive, it's ready to go, it's fire, it's hot, and it's unpredictable. Sorry, it's not unpredictable. It's not exactly the most patient of signs. It's like, I'm just going to go from A and skip B and go straight to C. I want to get there, and I want to get there now. But it might not necessarily think about how to get there the best ways. And this is why it might have that fire side to it that can bring that impulsive fire energy. Fire energy can be so wonderful. And it can also kick you right in your butt. With Venus there, Venus reminds us as it moves in, and it'll be there through the month as it moves through Aries. It reminds us Venus is not only about love. Venus tells us what we love, what we like, what we have passion for, as well as what hurts, as well as what's painful. Like I said last week, if you stick your hand in an oven and you pull a pan out that's been cooking for an hour and a half with your bare hand, that shit hurts. That's your Venus saying, ow, don't do this. This is not good for you. Venus is going to be in Aries. Its energy for the love and the bad of warning you either way is going to be in that impulsive energy, that fire energy, that ready to go. But it may not exactly be patient, and that's something you need to look at for this upcoming month. As well as this week, you might be starting to pull in that energy for next week's big event. Because next week, Jupiter goes retrograde. Jupiter goes retrograde. Jupiter is our department of abundance and growth. But in retrograde, it turns inwardly and it looks at ourselves. How are we getting abundance and growth? Or how have we been hurting ourselves from getting it? In Libra, it's also going to be speaking to us of our relationships as well as our money. So you might be getting those views outwardly really boldly this week, because next week it's going to start to turn and it's going to come inwardly for the time it's in retrograde. We also have Mercury is moving into Aquarius with the sun next week. So as Mercury is moving, that communication between Capricorn and Aquarius might be starting to collide. And Capricorn is all about your structure. Mercury is all about your communication. However it is you're communicating, emails, phone, computer in general, just anything. It's all about your communication, and in Capricorn is all about our structure and our growth and how can we make that happen. But in Aquarius, it moves into that, where did I write it down? It moves into that, rebel. It's a rebel, basically. It's ruled by Uranus. It is unpredictable. It's that amaze, that shock and awe, the rebel from within. It's all about your personal freedom, is what Aquarius is being able to explore that personal freedom. So that Mercury might be talking to you about that structure versus, but I want my freedom and I want to go out here and I want to do all of this. So you might be starting to get a little collage of that going on as this week progresses, because next week they both move. Now, this week the moon is in Pisces, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Chiron, Neptune, Venus at the time, and the moon are in Pisces. This speaks to us of our magic. It speaks to us of our of our fantasy world, of where we want life to be. But Chiron is also reminding you it's the wounded healer. So it's going to bring up those areas of wounds that is going to make you question, because all of this is squaring Saturn, which speaks to us of finding the proper balance within boundaries. Finding that proper balance to create proper boundaries and rules within our lives of where fantasy meets reality, where we avoid the truth. And this is why I said forthcomingness is boldly important this week as well as this whole year. Now, as we move into Wednesday and Thursday, the moon moves into Aries, where Mars and Uranus is, as well as Ceres. Mars is going to be speaking to us emotionally of, our warrior, our action, our fire, our passion, along with our independent nature, because that's going to be hitting Uranus, period. And Ceres is reminding us of the karma of the two and how to make that be properly positive, or are we doing it in a negative way? So you might be feeling that as it's in Aries, because that whole energy is bold and impulsive. Then we move into Taurus as we come into the weekend, and the Taurus, at the moment, Taurus doesn't have anything in it but the moon as we come into the weekend. So we're going to be stubborn but responsible, but also reliable emotionally. We're going to be able to bluntly say emotionally, but we might be stubborn about getting it out. It's endless patience, but it's solid and it's sensual, and it enjoys luxury. So just like I said, this week's all about truth and honesty. Yeah. And then for the week in general, I was given Jebo. And before I even went to the runes, I was shown Jebo. So I already knew it was coming up. And if you follow me normally, I have like 5 sets of runes that I work with, and all of them were highly talking. The only one that would literally let me work with it was the Muggle Stone, because they have too much energy. I could not sort through them. So Muggle Stone was the one that was working, which is also speaking to us of grounding ourselves, centering ourselves, and separating the energy for your empath, as well as creative energy. Jebo, again, is the gift itself. It is the gift and that gifting price. It is exchange and it is fire. It's focusing on hospitality and generosity, things given and received. It may indicate someone who also may feel controlled or kept hostage by a situation or by people, because they're not getting that proper hospitality and generosity. This is why they're feeling like the hostage. It can also reveal someone who is coming into finding their special gift and their magical exchange. The symbol shows where something must be given back for where it has been received. It is the sacrifice and generosity, but it is also seen as marrying, the price of marrying, more than the idea of marriage like a couple coming together. It is receiving something that is unasked for. It is the gift, the receiving of it. It is the gift and its obligations. It is taken and given, shared energy, serene ecstasy. It is also about sexual magic, because it is a fire element. It is sacrifice and agreements. It is the honoring of contracts. It is one's given word, receiving graciously, and above all, it is the gift that life is giving you, the gift of life. Now, I have to double check, because I was getting a little bit of a different energy. Are these two additionally for this week, or did I cover it somehow already? We have Birkenau coming, and only Birkenau. Let me find here. Birkenau is all about rebirth, but so that I don't miss anything, Birkenau, I don't know if I'm showing it to you backwards. I always get it wrong. I can't tell when I show you it. Burkina is the birch tree. It is fertility. It is beginnings. It is the world of trees, plants, the forest. It is the earth. It points to women. It also points to the magic of the work of the goddess. It is women's issues and female mysteries. The beginning, new beginnings from fertility and cleansing. New beginnings from within, of fertility, from cleansing in general, from cleansing who you are, your soul, being honest with yourself, forthcoming with yourself, as well as your life in general. It may indicate the presence of powerful women, and it may bring to you the need to contact powerful women. We move slowly through our learning, and we grow that way. Again, we grow and we learn because we move slowly. Think about it. How many times in the planet have we overlooked Ice Age, the dinosaurs, the Stone Age, all of that? It's all about always ever changing. Exodus, because I've been being sent all the way back to the Bible for the Exodus for ever since Halloween. And it's not that it's the same idea or the same story of the Exodus. It's going, look at how long true change takes. And so these changes aren't just changes for our life. They're changes to set forward for additional lives, for our children's lives. And we have to get it right so that we can help them as well, is what I'm being told. It is the promise of new beginnings and renewal. Principle of fertility, of new life, release following a period of gestation. It is preparation. It is preparation for the new starts, the new beginnings, based off of those old patterns. Again, that sends us right back to the idea, are we being prehistoric, or are we moving into primitive and moving into the new? The new beginning, the new world that we're trying to create for ourselves and our children and our children's children, by teaching them how to be forthcoming and not lie to ourselves on so many different levels. It's that enlightening, moving up and being better people, basically a better world. It is also about growth through carrying the intuition of the rebirth of that situation, the rebirthing into the true hero. It is the goddess made manifested. It is questing to the other world, birching and cleansing. I always follow what the book says because I copied what it was from a different book, and that book also disappeared. I've never been able to find it again. Burkina speaks to us of exorcism, releasing what is no longer germane, what is no longer servicing you, releasing it so it is no longer part of your life, and allowing the magical craft of your true personal power to come through and to manifest outwardly. It speaks to us of shape shifting. Now, shape shifting can be part of that change. Getting a new car, getting a new haircut, changing the color of your hair. It's all about how are we changing our lives to shape shift us into that forward movement. It is also about the power of illusion. It is shamanic practice as well as sexual freedom. Mysteries of the Great Mother and women's magic. Rites of passage for birth. It's going to be a wonderful week, and like you said, it's going to be a wonderful year, but it's the beginning of a very long period. I love you so much, and I want you to have the best life you can, and I believe in you. You just got to remember to believe in you. I love you, and if you have any questions for me, or you want to get your own personal readings or check out my products or anything else, you can always visit me at my website, and that's ladystarsandfire.com. Bye, everybody. Hugs and kisses in the wind. See you next week.